Okay. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda and Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda and Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda and Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda and Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Thank you. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. So, we are going to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam and from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in this way turn up a little nectar about Lord Chaitanya. And the verse is just now coming, we're hoping. But you probably all know this one anyway. Let me just put this. Okay. Sorry about this delay. Okay. Since we're going to chant the Bhagavatam verse, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 6th day of March, 2023, the glorious appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaura Purnima, we're reading first from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th verse, 11th canto, 5th chapter, text 32. Krishna Varnam, Trisha Krishnam, Sango Pangastra, Parshadam, Jagyai, Sankirtana, Prayar, Yajanti, Hisumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam, Sango Pangasta Parshadam, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai, Yajanti Hisumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam, Sango Pangasta Parshadam, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar, Yajanti Hisumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam, Sango Pangasta Parshadam, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar, Yajanti Hisumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam, Sango Pangasta Parshadam, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar, Yajanti Sumeda Saha, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam, Sango Pangasta Parshadam, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar, Yajanti Sumeda Saha. You go. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam, Sangopangasta Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Praya. Ladies? Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Praya Yajanti hi Sumedasaha. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Praya Yajanti hi Sumedasaha. One more. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Praya Yajanti hi Sumedasaha. So this is not a formal class, a Bhagavatam class, so I'm just going to skip the synonyms and go to the translation because we have so much to read. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. And now we are going to read Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse from Adi Lila, chapter 3, verse 52. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.532. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this verse in his commentary on the Bhagavatam known as Krama Sandarbha, wherein he says that Lord Krishna also appears with a golden complexion. That golden Lord Krishna is Lord Caitanya, who is worshipped by intelligent men in this age. That is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Gaura Muni, who said that although the child Krishna was blackish, he also appears in 3 other colors, red, white, and yellow. He exhibited his white and red complexions in the Satya and Treta Yugas respectively. He did not exhibit the remaining color, yellow gold, until he appeared as Lord Caitanya, who is known as Gaur Hari. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna Varnam means that Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam and Krishna Chaitanya are equivalent. The name Krishna appears with both Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Krishna. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he always engages in describing Krishna and thus enjoying transcendental bliss by chanting and remembering his name and form. Lord Krishna himself appears as Lord Chaitanya to preach the highest gospel. Varnayati means utters or describes. Lord Chaitanya always chants the holy name of Krishna and describes it also. And because he is Krishna himself, whoever meets him will automatically chant the holy name of Krishna and later describe it to others. He injects one with transcendental Krishna consciousness, which merges the chanter in transcendental bliss. In all respects, therefore, he appears before everyone as Krishna, either by personality or by sound. Simply by seeing Lord Chaitanya, one at once remembers Lord Krishna. One may therefore accept him as Vishnu Tattva. In other words, Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna himself. Sangam Pangasta Parshadam further indicates that Lord Chaitanya is Lord Krishna. His body is always decorated with ornaments of sandalwood and with sandalwood paste. By his super excellent beauty, he subdues all people of the age. In other descents, the Lord sometimes used weapons to defeat the demoniac. But in this age, the Lord subdues them with his all-attractive figure as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that his beauty is his astra, or weapon to subdue the demons. Now, I've also read that the holy names are his astra. I think that's another commentator. Because he is all attractive, it is to be understood that all the demigods lived with him as his companions. His acts were uncommon and his associates wonderful. When he propagated the Sankirtan movement, he attracted many great scholars and acharyas, especially in Bengal and Orissa. Lord Chaitanya is always accompanied by his best associates like Lord Nityananda, Advaita Gadadhar, and Srivas. Srila Jiva Goswami cites a verse from the Vedic literature that says that there is no necessity of performing sacrificial demonstrations or ceremonial functions. He comments that instead of engaging in such external pompous exhibitions, all people, regardless of caste, color, or creed, can assemble together and chant Hare Krishna to worship Lord Chaitanya. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam indicates that prominence should be given to the name Krishna. Lord Chaitanya taught Krishna consciousness and chanted the name of Krishna. Therefore, to worship Lord Chaitanya, everyone should together chant the maha-mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To propagate worship in churches, temples, or mosques is not possible because people have lost interest in that, and they're losing interest more every day. But anywhere and everywhere, people can chant Hare Krishna. Thus, worshipping Lord Chaitanya, they can perform the highest activity and fulfill the highest religious purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, a famous disciple of Lord Chaitanya, said, quote, "The principle of transcendental devotional service having been lost, Sri Krishna Chaitanya has appeared to deliver again the process of devotion. He is so kind that he is distributing love of Krishna. Everyone should be attracted more and more to his lotus feet, as humming bees are attracted to a lotus flower." Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, I was casting about for what to say today. And I always came back to this theme, which I think we've dealt with before, and Maharaj has also talked about. And that is to explore the two reasons for Lord Chaitanya's advent, the internal and the external. Because both of them very much pertain to our own efforts in practicing devotional service and our relationship with Lord Chaitanya. So this verse and the purport this talks about Lord Chaitanya's what is called the external reason for coming, which is the propagation of the Sankirtan movement. Now, this is very important because without that reason, we wouldn't be here. He came to, this is one of the motives of any incarnation that comes, to propagate the Yuga Dharma of the age. And the Yuga Dharma in this age, as Lord Chaitanya has amply illustrated, is the congregational chanting of the holy name. So I wanted to share with you a couple of other verses that just come after this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And they're both talking about offering humble obeisance to the lotus feet of the Mahapurush, who all of our acharyas say, yes, this Mahapurush is Mahaprabhu, is Lord Chaitanya. So the Sanskrit is so beautiful. Deyam sadapadeva vagnam abhishtadoham tirtaspadam shivivadinchinatam sharanyam vrityartiham pranatapala bhavabdipotam vande mahapurushate charanaravidam. My dear Lord, you are the Mahapurush, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I worship your lotus feet, which are the only eternal object of meditation. Those lotus feet destroy the embarrassing conditions of material life and freely award the greatest desire of the soul, the attainment of pure love of God. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the shelter of all holy places and of all saintly authorities in the line of devotional service, and are honored by powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. My Lord, you are so kind that you willingly protect all those who simply bow down to you with respect, and thus you mercifully relieve all distress of your servants. In conclusion, my Lord, your lotus feet are actually the suitable boat for crossing over the ocean of birth and death, and therefore even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva seek shelter at your lotus feet. Now our acharyas have given a lot of commentary in this verse and the next verse, and these three verses, the Krishna Varnam Dvija Krishna verse, which is most famous, and the three are evidence from the most important Shastra, Srimad Bhagavatam, that Lord Chaitanya is indeed the incarnation of Krishna, and he's come to spread the Sankirtan movement. So the next verse is very interesting, but it's understood to apply to both, to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna and Lord Ramchandra. I'm not going to get into that whole amazing thing. This verse probably even chanted more than the previous one. Tyaktva, in fact, even on the song to the six Goswamis, he starts singing this first line to this verse. Tyaktva turnamashesham anadabit. Tyaktva suduschida surepsata raja lakshmi. Dharmishta arya vachasai hidagararanyam mayam ragam dayati epsam anvadhavad vande mahapurushate chadanarabindam. Same line at the end. O Mahapurush, Mahaprabhu, I worship your lotus feet. You gave up the association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence. This is understood to be Lakshmi Priya, and also his second wife, which is most difficult to renounce and is hankered after by even the great demigods. Being the most faithful follower of the path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahman's curse. Now, left for the forest means he took sannyas. Now, the Brahman's curse, you know the story, he was performing, Sankirtan movement started in Navadvip in the house of Shiva, so it was very internal. No, if someone wasn't a pure devotee, they weren't allowed in. Even a very pure brahmachari came in and said, I'm not feeling the same ecstasy I feel all the time. What's going on? So the brahmachari came out from hiding. He just drinks milk. That's all, you know, it's so austere. And not just you think that just by drinking milk you're going to attain pure love of Godhead. But he saw that he was very pure and he embraced him, he, you know, gave him prema. But so that's how it started within. So there was this one Brahmin who wanted to get in, and he couldn't get in. So he came out, he broke his thread, he cursed Lord Chaitanya that you won't have any material happiness. Lord Chaitanya saw it as a great benediction. He said, oh, I'll take sannyas. So that's what that's all about. Left for the forest, obedience to a Brahman's curse. Out of sheer mercy, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion, and at the same time engaged in searching out your own desired object, Lord Shyamasundar. So that's referring to his pastimes of always, you know, preaching in South India and trying to help as many as possible. So I'd like to turn now, after those three verses, very nicely describe in the Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya's advent and how to worship him. Continuing on with this reason for coming as to preach and spread the Sankirtan movement, there's this really famous verse which appears 3 times in the CC. Some of you may know it. Anarpita charim charat karunaya vatirna kalau samapihitamannato dvaradasam sabhakti shiyam hari purata sundara jitikadamba sandipita sada vidya kandhare spututu vakshachi nandana. Now this is a blessing verse. The Mangala Charan is said to have different purposes, the verses that are there. One is, of course, to lay out the subject matter of the book. But another is to give blessings to the readers, and another one is to offer prayers. So this is one of the ones that gives blessings, so listen up, because this is Krishna's Kaviraj, concluding is giving a blessing, and the author, who I think is Rupa Goswami. Yes, this is part of the Vidagdamadava Mangalacharan. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. And of course he's also offered the Swabhakti Shriyam, can mean devotion to himself or devotion in the same mood that he has. In other words, he's taken the role of is Krishna in the role of Radharani, and he's teaching us how to worship Krishna in that highest way. So this is a very wonderful verse. And the next verse also talks about that, and it kind of straddles. It talks. It's about the external. It's explaining the Lord Chaitanya's mood, but it's also hinting at his internal mood in his thing. Radha Krishna Pani Vikutir Ladhini Shakta Rasmat Ekatmana Vabhibhara Deha Bedam Katautal Chaitanya Kim Pakadamadana Tadvayam Chaikyamaptam Radha Bhava Titisapalitang Nami Krishna Swarupam. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So now I'd like to turn to explication or investigation, if you will, exploration of the internal reason of Lord Chaitanya's coming. And these aren't actually completely separate, because in showing this highest level of worshipping Krishna in the mood of Radharani, he also taught. He also, this is written up in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which you can read and understand. So, before I continue, just the importance of all this, one of the most important things is that we should also have, as I think you pointed out, an internal and external reason for practicing Krishna consciousness. Our internal reason is to become Krishna conscious. We want to, first motivation, yes, I want to end birth, old age, disease, and death. I want to taste the highest pleasure. I want to go back to Godhead, right? I want. That's good, moving you in the right direction. But you soon find when you practice Krishna consciousness that your desires are becoming purified, and that you really feel the bliss when you forget about your bliss, and you just start serving others. And you want to please Krishna, you want to please his devotees, like that. And so that's parallel. That's modeled by Lord Chaitanya himself. So this next verse is wholly and solely explaining the internal reason, and all of this is very nicely explicated in the 4th chapter of the Adi Leela. I highly advise that those of you who may not explore the CC, of course, you should read it from the beginning. But that 4th chapter is so conclusive. There are many important verses in there, and it really describes the difference between love and lust and so many different things. Some of you may know this verse. You can chant along. Shri Radhaya Pandya Mahima Kiddasho Vanaya Vasvadyo Yena Buddhamanudima Kiddasho Vamadhiya Saukyam Chasya Mananabhavatak Krishkidvisham Veti Loba Tanbhavadya Samajanishachi Garba Sindho Harindu. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sachi Devi as the moon appeared from the ocean. So this verse, now I mentioned chapter 4. In chapter 4, he systematically goes through and explains the Mangalacharan, verse by verse. He'll have chapters on Lord Nityananda and Advaita and everything. But this is the chapter 3 is dedicated to a lot of quotes from the Shastra, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati offers very many quotes from the Shastra, aside from the one from the Bhagavatam I read, the Mahabharata and Suvarnavarna Hemango, and there's others, that to prove that Lord Chaitanya is indeed Krishna. In fact, if you think about it, the whole movement that Prabhupada gave us, and that the Gaudiya Vaishnavism is dedicated to, is first convincing you and proving from the Shastra, from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Bhagavatam, that Krishna is God. And the second part is that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. Isn't it? If you have faith in those two things, then you have to have faith in those two things to practice Krishna consciousness. Krishna is God. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do we have enough information about that? 10th Canto, the whole Bhagavatam, everything, Bhagavad Gita. And the second one, which Prabhupada pointed out, and is true, everyone in India accepts, is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna in his fullness. Yes, he doesn't manifest the powers and everything that Krishna has. Sometimes he manifests some of it, but mostly he's in the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani. And this verse explains why, because there's more surrounding this, that he was in sometimes he's in Vaikuntha, and he's seeing in the palace in Dwarkapuri his own reflection. He's in his own reflection. in the part of Goloka Vrindavan that's Dwarka Lila. And he saw his own reflection, and sometimes in a shiny floor, in a pillar or something, and he was attracted to his own beauty. Who manifests such a beauty as this? You know, but how can I taste it? I can't. You know, Srimati Radharani, she appreciates that beauty through the lens of her love. This is the whole idea, is that she appreciates Krishna like no one else because her love for Krishna is like no one else. So that was the first thing, and this verse, Shri Radhaya Pranimahima, is in the form of Krishna speaking. Iti lobat. In other words, he's giving us an insight into Krishna's own mind. So, in order to experience the glory of Srimati Radharani's love and his own qualities that she experiences and she feels uniquely through the lens of her love. That's the second thing. Because he realized, oh, he's so beautiful, he has all these other qualities, but she's enjoying more than he is because she's through her love, she's appreciating him more than he can appreciate. And then the happiness that she experiences by relishing relationship with him. Saukyam chasya mananabhavata kidasham veti lobhat. So iti lobhat, I am very greedy to experience these three things, but I can't do it as Krishna. So therefore he has to come as Krishna Caitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the idea. And chapter 4 extensively goes into this and describes how Krishna appeared the first time. How is that? Anugrahaya bhaktana manusam dehamastitaha. Bhajate tadrishi krida yashrita tatparo bhavet. To show mercy to my devotees, Krishna comes, he says, periodically. He came 5,000 years ago and enacted these most attractive Leela in Vrindavan, in Braj, that then there's so much written about that. Then devotees can hear that through the Bhagavatam and realized souls, and the writings of the great Goswamis, and by hearing that they become attracted to practice this highest bhakti. So that's out of mercy he comes for that. That's also part of the preaching. Preaching comes like that. So that's he's coming, but at the same time he has his own reason. He's Rasika Shekhar. That's in chapter 4 also. He is the king of all Rasikas. But he found in Goloka Vrindavan that his ability to enjoy this highest rasa of love for himself, he couldn't do. He couldn't do it there because it's an incompatible situation. So he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with those two reasons, and especially he manifests, as has been pointed out, this love and separation, which is of all the relations, of course, the gopis are with Krishna in Braj and so forth, and that's very ecstatic. But the intensity of the love increased even more when they were separated from him. Of course, every day they were separated, and then he would come back. And so there's many poems like that. There's an ashtaka about Lord, that's just one ashtaka by Rupa Goswami, meditating on Krishna coming back from the forest of Vrindavan, And when he finally comes, the gopis rush out of their homes, and they meet him on the path with 100 manners of dancing glances and gentle smiles, as the verse is quoted in the scene. And Krishna, he looks at them with love. And there's one in the Dhenukasura pastime, the killing of Dhenukasura. It's so wonderful. Balaram is featured. He's the one who kills Dhenukasura. Lord Krishna exalts him. He praises him. Look, all the big trees and the creepers, they're all worshiping him. And then he gets for it. So then there's the coming back. And when they come back, the gopis meet him, and by drinking in the nectar of his beautiful face, the bees of the gopis' eyes relieves the heat of separation, and then he keeps coming in, and then he comes to his mother's house, and then there's the maternal ras. So it's like all the rasas are there. You got the friendly ras, you're out there, kill a demon, come back. There's the gopis, comes back, and then his mother. It's a very nice pastime. So this is the 10th canto, was full of these things. But in order to relish his own qualities and experience all of his own qualities and the glory of her love, he had to appear as Srimati Radharani. So, I wanted to, let's see. Yeah. So, one thing about this chapter 4, it really goes into great explanation of what the nature of pure, unalloyed devotion to Krishna is. You know, we hear that all the time. And there's this verse in Bengali that is one of the most prominent verses. Atmandriya priti vache thare balikam. Krishnandriya priti icha dhare prem nam. What's the difference between kama and prema? This verse tells that. The desire to please one's own senses has the name kama. And we know from the Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, that kama is our worst enemy. Right? Kama is what keeps us enthralled with this material world, trying to enjoy here and there, and then suffering like anything. So life after life, we have these unfulfilled desires, material desires, to please our own senses, which keeps us coming back, and so and something they call like knots in the heart, right? The hridiya granthi that tie us to this world. So that's the desire to please our own senses. But the desire to please Krishna's senses is prema. And that, even cultivating that by systematically, cuts the knots in the heart. I love that second. Some of you may have heard the verse, one of my recent classes. I went through Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, verse 6 to 21, which is a whole lesson on this. And then how do we cut those desires, those knots? Yadanunyasina yukta karma grandhina bandhanam. By remembering Krishna. The more that we remember Krishna, we chant His holy name, we worship Him, we think about Him, we read His books. It's all Krishna consciousness. That cuts the knots. But more than, it doesn't destroy desire, it purifies it. That's the whole idea. Attachment must be there. The idea of becoming completely detached, that's a Mayavadi thing. That I won't have any desires, and I'll just merge into Brahman, and I'll be so happy, I'll be blissful, I'm no more birth, no more age, no more. But that doesn't work like that, because our intrinsic nature is to be persons, is to engage in loving exchange with Krishna in the spiritual world. And so what we're doing now is a perverted reflection of that. But if we're too afraid of being persons, again, because all we know of personhood is this material body, Prabhupada explains in the purport to 410, chapter 4, text 10, Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha, that the reasons why people don't come to bhakti, well, the main reason is that they're too enthralled with material things. That's the first one, raga. But there's also the bhaya, and he gives that to the Mayavadis. They're afraid of being persons again. No, we're going to just merge into Brahman, you know. And then the other ones is krodha. You get cheated so much by this philosopher, that philosopher, and so forth, you say, oh, the heck with everything, everything's void. You know, I'll just destroy my whole identity, and it's kind of like close to impersonalism. So those things prevent us from taking up devotional service. So we have to be vita, we have to be free of vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. So the 4th chapter describes, this is the essential thing we have to remember. And recently, some of you have heard this before, in the 2nd canto, near the beginning, you remember there's a whole list of demigods that you can worship to get different things. If you want good health, worship Surya. If you want a good wife, worship Uma. If you want powerful senses, worship Indra. And it goes on, you see. But then at the end of that, there's this famous verse, you can all sing together, you know it. Akama savakamo va mokshakama hudadadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. If you're an akama is a noun. If you're someone who's free of all material desire, or you have all material desires, sarvakama. If you're intelligent, udadadi, or you want mukti, that's another kind of kama, muktikam, you should practice intense devotional service to the Supreme Person, Krishna. Now in the purport to that verse, Prabhupada quotes Jiva Goswami. And I remember when I first read this, like 73, 74, I said, this is great. It's a little phrase, it's not a verse, but it's a little prose phrase from one of his Samdarbhas, I haven't figured out which one yet, which encapsulates that same mood of the contrast between kama and prema, and what pure prema really is, what pure devotion is. And here's the phrase. It says, Bhajaniya Padma Purusha Sukha-matra Swasukatvam. It's kind of very close to Anyabhilasha Dasunyam. So what it means is Padma Purusha, Bhajaniya, the worshipable Supreme Person, that's Krishna. Bhajaniya Padma Purusha Sukha-matra, only the happiness of that person, only the pleasure of Krishna. Swasukatvam is your happiness. To take pleasure only in giving pleasure to the Supreme Person. That's the definition of pure devotional service. And that's Srimati Radharani personified. At the very end of the CC, there's of course, the Shikshastika in chapter 20. And the last verse is completely in the mood of Radharani. How's it start? Who can help me out? How's the last verse start? How's it? Ashlishyava padadatam vinashtamama darshanan marmahatang karota vayatata tavavadata lambato mat prananatas tusaheva naparaha. Forgive me, I just give my poetic translation. Let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me or my most ardent hopes defeat by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint, so let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. Now, it appears from the CC text that Lord Chaitanya himself wrote the explanation that follows that, the expansion. This is common in the CC. Lord Chaitanya will quote a verse, and then he'll expand on it. And there'll be the Krishna scholar is writing. So one of the things there that always struck me, Radharani says, if Krishna wants to be with some other gopi, fine, I'll go and get that gopi and take her by the hand and bring her to Krishna and be very happy, because he wants her, like that. But if some gopi is mad at Krishna, even though he wants to be with her and everything, then I'll thunderbolt her to her head. So in other words, her whole being is Ladini Shakti. It's Krishna's own pleasure potency that's manifest. That means whatever she does, whoever she is, she's completely there to give Krishna's pleasure. That's how she's designed. That's her reason for being. That's what she's done for. And that's the ideal of devotion. That's the supreme devotion. That's why devotees, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas especially, worship Srimati Radharani. Want to get the mercy of Srimati Radharani, because if she's pleased with you, then she recommends you to Krishna, then you're in. Krishna will, definitely shower his mercy on you. So that's what the fourth chapter then explores. How Krishna is saying, yes, I appeared, and refers, I appeared years ago, many years ago, in order to demonstrate my highest pastimes in Braj, to attract the devotees and give them subject matter for meditating on. Bhajate chadrichi yashuta tatparo bhavet anugrahaya bhaktana. But at that time, I couldn't fulfill these three desires, because I was in the role of Krishna and Radharani. But I have seen now that she's enjoying me at the time more than me, because she's doing it out of devotion, love. And that's why it's said that all of the, not just the residents of Vrindavan and or the Gaudiya Vaishnava, but those who really know, they all want to be, even the incarnations, the expansions of Krishna, they want to serve. The story of Advaitacharya, where he was, of course, senior to Lord Chaitanya. He was older, that's what you always see with the white beard. And Lord Chaitanya was respecting him. He didn't want that. He wanted to be in a subordinate position, because that's where all the nectar is, to be a humble servant and just, So you know what he did? What did he start doing? Preaching Mayavad. He was teaching some Mayavad, because he knew Lord Chaitanya would react very... So Lord Chaitanya knew what was going on. So he came there and he started beating him up. And as soon as he started beating him, Advaita went into ecstasy. He said, finally my Lord is treating me in the proper position as his subordinate, because like social things, he's elder, so he should be respected. And he was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, so he's on the level of his guru, but he took that. So this is what the Lord Chaitanya is taught, and what is manifest, that even the expansions of Krishna, they want to serve Krishna. Ekale Ishvara Krishna ar sabhabrita. Right? And that others means all others, whether Vishnu Tattva or not. So just see how fortunate we are that we're members of this Hare Krishna movement, and we're trained by Srila Prabhupada and his sincere followers in all the books. Yes, and Nectar of Devotion, Anyabhilasha Darsanyam Jnana Karma Janavratam. Don't cover your bhakti with some other motivation. All other desires, even for mukti, has to be thrown aside. And the only thing is Anukulena Krishnanushilanam Bhakti Uttama. This is ultimate bhakti. Under guidance of the Shastra and the Guru and the sages, to use your mind, body, senses, intelligence, the money, everything, all right, prana, tadiya, vacha, to favorably serve Krishna for his pleasure. Well, how do we know what Krishna wants? That's where the Guru comes in. That's where the realized souls come in. They tell us, this is the mantra you chant, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Right? This is the form you worship. This is how you act in relation to other devotees. And all of that training is important because it gives pleasure to Krishna. And so that by doing that, you can feel the happiness. You can feel the peace. And that's the first thing. It kind of that. All of this turmoil, who was it? I think Rita Narayan should always say, she loves me not. She loves me not. That the relationships are just cause so much suffering ultimately. They're entered into, they hope to get pleasure, and there's some pleasure there at first, but in today's world when everything is so crazy, and you get the phones, everything's... There's tremendous amount, even more than previous ages, of depression and this desperation. I'm telling you, just maybe a little off sidelight, as Maharaj would say, that when I was growing up, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, I was aware of what was going on. I was reading newspapers, I was hooked in, especially to the Vietnam War. And it just horrified me, and a lot of my time was used in, going on demonstrations and stuff like that. Well, now, if you're an intelligent young person, you're reading about the end of the world. Not necessarily this war that could blow up into hydrogen bombs, but aside from that, the climate change is disastrous. And so there's a whole bunch of people growing up who are totally depressed, and many times they've lost their impetus to succeed in this world because they see you've left us a cinder, a burning cinder. It's going to get very hot. It's going to get more hot. I'm worried about this summer. We had such a cold winter. If we have a relatively high pregnant temperature, oh my God! But that's you can imagine if your only aspirations is material. Even if it's wholesome, family and so forth and go, but is that going to happen? So this is the end result of materialistic motivation. It ends ultimately in defeat. It ends ultimately in desperation. You're getting older. Death is coming. Your body's falling apart. You can't do what you used to do. And if everything has been through the body, Dehesti Mangsuru Be Mitam Jastra, this verse that Mahavishnu Maharaj taught me. Dehesti Mangsuru Didam Vimatam Chajasra Jaya Sutari Jasadama Matam Vimuncha Pashyani Sam Chanabanga Pashyani Sam Jagadidam Chanabanga Tishtam Vairagya Raga Rasiko Bhava Bhakti Nishtam. Don't love the body. Just a bag of flesh and blood and bone. Give up your sense of ownership for wife and kids at home. At every moment see that your world totters on destruction. Become detached and learn to love the Lord without obstruction. The last line is immortal. Vairagya raga rasiko bhava. Get attachment for detachment. Be vairagya raga, you see? But the only way to do it is rasika bhava, by being able to relish Krishna consciousness, the holy name, the worship, the festivals, the devotees, everything. That has to be the source of happiness and peace and hope. And Lord Chaitanya came to teach that, and he showed by his own example, and he inspired a wonderful line of devotees, including Srila Prabhupada, who took his prediction seriously. That in every town and village of the world, not just in India, my name will be proclaimed and will be chanted. And just relish for a minute, Srila Prabhupada's incredible compassion and mercy and determination and courage to take that prediction, and he joined it to his spiritual master's, order, and there's no question what he had to do. Try to spread it all over the world. It didn't happen in India. He couldn't, he had various false starts, that's the history. So he said, well, equivalent to let's go for broke. If I'm going to fail, let me fail in a new place, right? He comes to New York, gets on the boat. Bhakti Vikas Swami has written a beautiful essay. He has a book, I think, about Prabhupada, and it's in the database. Meditating on Prabhupada getting on the boat, getting on that boat. You've seen the painting, he's got his little bag and he's going up the gangplank. And just contemplate that. He's 69, failing health. I guess it's not a cruise boat. It's not an ocean liner, the Queen Mary. It's this cargo ship. Yeah, there's a cabin in there, but it's impossible. And 2 heart attacks, and he's keeping the journal. And he wrote a wonderful prayer on there, prayer to the lotus feet of Krishna. And then he gets a dream. Krishna says, "Okay, I'm taking charge of the boat." And then everything calmed down. The whole ocean, right? The story, they get to New York, and the captain was there with his wife on the boat, and she was joking, of course. She said, "Swami, can you please come back with us, because this is the calmest crossing we've ever had out of the Atlantic. September in the Atlantic it's hurricane season. Hello, God." So Prabhupada comes, and the story. Somehow he gets to Pennsylvania, gets to New York. And after almost a year, he finally gets the footing in the Lower East Side. I lived there a few years later. So anyway, it's just such a glorious story, an inspiring story, because he did it all for us, And talking about debts, we're reading in the morning about Daksha, is upset. Oh, my 11,000 sons, they can't give me the debt back. You owe a debt to Narada Muni. You didn't know that. So anyway. So that alone, should inspire us to become serious and to try to pay back the debt by becoming Krishna conscious and giving Krishna consciousness to others, just like Lord Chaitanya. Relish Krishna consciousness, yes, as much as possible. And if you do, you'll become more potent in giving it to others, because people will say, "Oh, this person has something that I want." And they'll take a book, or they'll come to the temple, or they'll chant Hare Krishna. So this is a wonderful way of remembering Lord Chaitanya on this wonderful day, and that is that what he did, what Krishna did in coming to earth in the form of Lord Chaitanya, for the reason of relishing his own beauty and from Radharani's point of view, but also for giving all of us a chance to be Krishna conscious and to escape from this world and, take as many people as possible and go back to Godhead and resume our ecstatic life of Krishna consciousness in the spiritual world. So, we're going to have the greeting in about 13 minutes. If there's any discussion on any of these points, otherwise, I'm going to read you a poem. I have one ashtaka about Lord Chaitanya from the Chaitanya ashtakas at the beginning of the Stavamala, and I should have queued it up, but I didn't. But let's see. All right, give me a second here. This one, I attracted to this one because the last line goes, "O Lord Chaitanya, Shrimukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool." This is like, I related to that, so let's see. Okay. Sorry, I should have prepared better. Oh, Krishna. All right. Just search for wretched, stubborn fool. I'm sure I'll get it. Okay. So I'll read one Sanskrit verse and then I'll just go to English, and I think we'll wind up. This is the third Chaitanyashika from the Stavamala by Rupa Goswami. Upasata padam mudas chamudolaktarudradibi papadipurushotamam padamadabhamudbrajitaha samastanata mandali spudadabhishta kalpadhrumam shati sutamahi pabo kudamukunda mande kripami. Mukunda Prabhu. Hello, Mukunda. Hello. You can learn that verse? Yeah, I see. You will. Maybe not right away, but you will. So, your lotus feet are worshipped by the multitude of gods, beginning with Lord Shiva, in whose heart devotion throbs. You've made Lord Jagannath's great city by the sea your home, and there you shine with splendor as in ecstasy you roam. For all your loving devotees who beam like many moons, you are a wish-fulfilling tree bestowing endless boons. O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. Shripad Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya never finds the limits of your glories, what to speak of lesser minds. Even Lord Ananta and your other incarnations find their power to extol you fraught with limitations. Your vast intelligence will surely never know defeat. I humbly bow before you and most and earnestly entreat, O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. The glorious Upanishads had kept the secret sealed. By them the gem of pure devotion never was revealed. Nor did your most exalted incarnation show that jewel, for only you yourself could bring about the great renewal of Krishna Bhakti. And behold, you've reached your lotus hand into the nectar sea, and cast that gem upon this land. O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. Overwhelmed with love of Krishna, who is none but you, you dance ecstatically, astounding three-eyed Lord Shambhu. To all your humble devotees you gladly manifest the nectar of devotion. They feel infinitely blessed. The proud and egotistical can never know your glories. To them accounts of your great deeds are just so many stories. O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. Even low-born sinful souls entrapped in Kali's age, suffering uncounted pains that no one can assuage, are instantly delivered when you kindly seek them out and flood them with your splendid mercy, making bhakti sprout. And so with heart rejoicing at your mercy's endless store, I take full shelter of your lotus feet and then implore, O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. Trickling from your lotus mouth, the honey nectar stream of your pure words enlightens all and showers bliss supreme upon the humble bumblebees who are your devotees. What use to them are dry philosophies, austerities? You are an ocean full of gems, the holy names, which bless all people on this planet with supreme auspiciousness. O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. The beauty of your face defeats the full moon's soothing glow. From full-blown lotus petal eyes your loving glances flow. By clusters of your gentle smiles your lovely lips are graced. Your chest is broad, your arms are like two glorious upraised snakes. Your handsome form defeats 100,000,000 Kamadeves. And best of all, your mercy floods this world in endless waves. O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. O Lord, whose splendor calls to mind the golden daffodil, I am the lowest sinner in this world of sinners. Still, you overlook the faults of one whose faults are like an ocean, and bless him with the strength to practice unalloyed devotion. With this in mind, O Lord, who are most kind to fallen souls, I ask you with a humble heart, devoid of mundane goals, O Lord Chaitanya, Shri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. And here's the Palashruti, those who know what that means. O festival of happiness for all this world of woe, O Lord who caused the joy in Shachi's heart to overflow, O fulgent moon, fulgent is the same meaning as effulgent. O fulgent moon, whose glow is your unending spotless fame, O Bhagavan, whose mission is to spread your holy name, O Sri Chaitanya Chandra, kindly grant us one request. May those who hear these verses, feeling purified and blessed, while deeply contemplating your exquisite lotus feet, attain pure love for you and make their blessed lives complete. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So there's a little time left, but we'll occupy it, if there's no questions or comments, with a nice kirtan leading up to the opening of the curtains and Guru and the nice kirtan in honor of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you very much for this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Very nice poem, very nice class.
Thank you, Dhanabhari.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.